I'm here with Jon Gorman, Executive Director at NetVU. Jon, I appreciate you coming on the podcast with me today. If you don't mind, just tell me a little bit about yourself and your role at NetVU and kind of what you guys do there.
Sure. Yeah. Happy to be here. Happy to participate in this today. So I've been with NetVU since December of 2019, which you can imagine, given the pandemic and everything that has happened since then. It's been an interesting time to be a leader of an organization. But most of my career has been spent in not-for-profit trade association space. So this is actually my second insurance trade association I've been a part of, third financial services trade association. So, NetVU exists to support Vertafore as a technology provider for the independent insurance agency space. And we are technically the user group for Vertafore, although we are wholly independent from Vertafore and operate independently, although we do work very closely and collaboratively with them. And technically, every customer of Vertafore is a member of NetVU by virtue of utilizing Vertafore solutions and Vertafore technology. And those independent agencies are members of NetVU for free as a result of that relationship.
That's great. And I have a couple personal relationships with brokers that use Vertafore products. So I'm really happy to talk to you today a little bit about this. And I personally don't have a lot of experience around these user groups. So maybe someone that like me that really doesn't understand it, or someone maybe that's a new broker or someone that hasn't heard about your company, like how would you explain it and maybe what kind of value you bring?
Yeah, sure. So we essentially do three things for the independent insurance agency. We have obviously a partner program that involves other technology providers that support both Vertafore and independent agents, but our primary audience is the independent insurance agent and the MGA space too. Vertafore's market share with the MGA group of financial services and the insurance space is growing. So our support of MGA exists too, but we primarily exist to do three things. We provide education. The majority of the education we provide is on how individuals working for an independent insurance agency or an MGA or a broker can get the most out of their Vertafore solutions. So a lot of times we find experts in a specific Vertafore solution, spin up some education around how to get the most out of it, tips and tricks, best practices, those kinds of things, and provide education 365 days a year. The primary, probably most visible means of our education is we put on an annual user conference, which is called Accelerate for us. We have, and that is primarily around what is the latest and greatest from Vertafore, what are the product updates that are coming for the individual solutions, but also we typically will partner an agency user of a Vertafore product with the Vertafore product developers and provide significant education over the course of 3.5 days for Vertafore customers. So education is a big piece of what we do. We probably the biggest and most important thing that we do is build a community of Vertafore customers. So we help to connect individuals who are using Vertafore solutions at agencies or organizations with their peers in the industry. So it can be a peer-led group. It can be a roundtable of small agencies. It could be a roundtable of really big agencies. So we look at ways of connecting independent insurance agents with one another so they can both gather information from their peers, but also share the knowledge and information that they have. So community is a huge part of what we do. And the third aspect of what we do is just advocacy. And it's not advocacy in a typical trade association sense, in that we're not in state legislatures or in regulatory bodies trying to advocate for improved laws for the industry or improved compliance or regulatory issues for the industry. What we advocate for is the continued and advancing use of technology in the independent insurance agency space and MGA space. Obviously, we tend to support our partners who are providing technology solutions, but primarily our primary partner, Vertafore, and their technology solutions. So we advocate for Vertafore in the independent insurance agency space. We advocate for the use of technology in the space, but we also advocate for the industry as a whole. So we participate with a lot of industry groups and advocate for growth of the independent insurance agency channel specifically.
I was wondering, while you're saying that, I know we talked about it a little bit previously. Are there any big changes technologically that you're seeing in the industry? maybe specifically towards brokers, AI?
Yeah, the biggest change that we're facing is AI. We've been talking about it for probably a good part of a year. We introduced an AI specific track at Accelerate last year. It was the single most popular track at the conference. Basically, standing room only space. The really good thing is that Vertafore has been a leader in the AI and adoption of AI in its solutions and in its workflow internally for some time, and they're becoming much more vocal about how Vertafore is utilizing AI in its own operations, but also in its products that it's delivering to our membership. But yeah, AI is probably the biggest and most disruptive piece of technology in the independent agency space right now. But frankly, from my perspective, what we're seeing is AI not to reduce staff count, but AI to maintain staff count, but grow faster, further, bigger.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the same thing I'm seeing. Um, for me personally, my personal use of AI, and then also for people that I know in the industry. I mean, I think maybe some people are getting past that whole like, hey, AI is a bad thing, right? And it's going to be taking a lot of jobs. It's more of like, hey, this is here to support me so I can do more, so I can serve my customers better, so I can, um, I don't know, just get more done. So
Yeah, I mean, I could think of an example in my own personal professional life. So if you're familiar with Colby, it's a tool that people utilize to identify what somebody's natural and innate strengths are. I tend to be what's called a fact finder in the Colby A index, so I spend a lot of time analyzing data, making sense of complex data. So NetVU as an organization, we do a member needs assessment almost every year where we ask our membership what their biggest needs are, what their biggest challenges are, how we're doing as an organization. Typically we get a bunch of responses to that, and we have many, many questions that we're asking. So what used to take me probably 2 to 3 days to create an analysis and executive summary of that survey, now utilizing AI tools, it takes me 30 to 45 minutes and then probably another hour to review the responses that it gets. So it's not making my job go away as an analyst of data and making sense of data. It's just helping me to do it faster so I can do other things that help the organization, help to advance the organization further.
absolutely, yeah. Someone still needs to ask those questions, right? That are going to make a difference. AI might be able to help get you there, but um, you still have to prompt it. You still have to ask it the right questions and maybe adjust things. So, yeah,
Exactly.
maybe you could explain what are maybe some of the biggest things in your opinion that brokers are seeing as a benefit to using your services?
Yeah, probably the biggest stuff is connections. So creating connections with other brokers, other agencies, other organizations that can help them to find answers faster. Um, you know, Great thing about being a part of a group like NetVU or any trade association, frankly, is that you have access to other people who are doing the same things that you're doing or facing the same challenges that you face as an organization. And if you can find and connect with people who've already solved those things to help you solve it faster, that's a huge benefit, and frankly, the reason why most trade associations exist. The NetView is probably even stronger in the community aspect, and that we have an online discussion group, but we're also looking at ways to connect people physically, as well as in calls like this that are digital calls. For example, we connect a small agency group, essentially agencies that have less than 5 employees. We have a roundtable for them, and they get on about once a month, just with their peers. Most of them are owners of their agencies, or making the decisions for their agencies, and they spend hour and a half, not just talking about Vertafore, talking about the day to day, but talking about what technology they found to help them do things, what accounting software they're using. So being able to connect with people who are facing the same kinds of challenges you are is really the biggest strength from NetView's perspective. You mentioned some of the challenges that what we're hearing is pretty consistent for the last 3 or 4 years, is employee staffing. So recruiting great staff, retaining staff, and helping them to advance in their career. Um, Staffing is a big issue. Efficiency, creating greater efficiencies in the organizations continues to be one of the top three issues that most organizations that are members of us face. obviously technology and use of technology, which is why we spend so much time educating them on how to get the most out of their solutions to create more efficient workflows, to create more efficient internal operations. And then the last one is growing the bottom line, growing as organizations. We talk, to a lot of different size agencies, smaller agencies. If they're not growing through, natural growth by growing their bottom line, by growing their business, it's going to be hard for them to continue to operate and grow, be competitive, to have space, for their. So if they're not growing either through, growing their business or through acquisitions, um, it will continue to be a challenging market for them, especially as we're coming out of a hard market. Fortunately, what we hear from the economists and in the industry is that the market's softening, business is becoming easier, but we know that there are significant challenges that exist out there.
Yeah, they that's the staffing part I hadn't really heard too much about. So I mostly work with brokers and offer some sort of services in the marketing realm, like Google Ads or email marketing or website services, that type of thing. But I hadn't heard too much about staffing problems. Um, is there any solutions that you've heard around that?
Yeah, but we don't want them. This is the biggest fear of being a part of a trade association is you have a superstar in your staff, then a bigger organization discovers that superstar in the trade association space and steals them away from you. We don't see that happen a lot with NetVU, and frankly, we discourage that from happening. But we do hear every once in a while, yeah, I have this really young superstar. We just hired them. They're 23 years old. I see them being a future leader. I really don't want to get them engaged because I'm afraid somebody's going to come in and poach them. My argument to that is get them engaged because you're going to help them grow both personally and professionally. And if you can do that, you're creating, somebody who has loyalty to your organization because you've developed them as a person and as a professional. So yeah, the staffing is an issue. You see an aging workforce in our space, in financial services. How does insurance how is it something sexy for young people to get involved in the industry and then to stay, long term in the industry? So those are things that we try to help them with. Frankly, AI is a huge opportunity to draw young people into our industry, because obviously the people who are embracing it the most tend to be younger right now, and those people can become change management, change agents in the independent insurance agency space and the insurance space. Frankly, they can own AI as a technology and become champions within their organizations and give themselves an opportunity to be somebody of significant influence by engaging with new developing technology like AI. So I think it's a huge opportunity to draw young people into our industry.
Absolutely. I have personal experience with sort of a user group and in my own agency, and I'll have to say, I mean, it was a game changer for me. I mean, even if it's just to know there's other people dealing with the same things that you are, but pretty soon it's like start asking questions. Some people seem open to. I mean, it's just great not to feel alone in some kind of in the environment that and the problems that you're dealing with, and you just see, hey, everybody's dealing with these things, and there's a lot of solutions out there. It's
Yeah, we love to use the term connecting. So we really focus on connecting people with one another. We focus on connecting them with knowledge. We focus on connecting them with others who need their knowledge. So really, NetVU is a connector to all kinds of different things. When one of our members has have challenges with Vertafore, we can help connect them to the right people at Vertafore. They're going to help to get their problem solved. So we can be a conduit to support both Vertafore and a customer of Vertafore's, just as a result of our relationship. So connecting is a big part. Is a term that we use a lot in basically what we do every day.
question about how people usually first find out about NetView. How does that usually work? Is it just something that they get an email about once they're
Yeah,
a Vertafore user?
some of it's organic. Some of it is, we have organizations that engage with NetView. So when we talk about engagement, we talk about it at two levels. How many Vertafore customer organizations are engaged with our organization, but also how many individuals are engaged. So we track both the organizations from, a brokerage, from an MGA, from an independent agency, but we also track individuals within those organizations. So most of the way it flows is when somebody becomes a customer of Vertafore, Vertafore will share that new customer list with us and the contacts that they gather as a result of that relationship. we have a window by which we don't really bother them because they've usually onboarded some new technology and they're trying to learn the new technology. So we recognize that introducing them to a user group that's there to support them within that window is probably not going to be effective. So once that window closes or opens, NetVU as an organization will start to reach out to those Vertafore customers that are new. We'll find out who the individuals are in the organization. We have an onboarding process for them by which we help them to get credentials on our website, which flows into all of our web solutions, and then introduce them into what NetVU does and how we support both them and Vertafore. Now, a lot of it's organic. There's an organization that may have one person who engages with NetVU. They see the benefit and the value, and they introduce somebody else in their organization into what NetVU does. So we see that happen a lot too. Sometimes it's a Vertafore salesperson who's trying to get an individual to accelerate to our national conference, and then we get them as a result of that. So social media, we use social media, but it's not a huge tool for us to drive new engagement, new individual or organizational engagement. A lot of it's just word of mouth. So people have been affected by our organization one way or another. They meet somebody in the industry and they will make a referral to us because of what we've done for them.
I saw on the website you have NetView Plus. How does that work? And is that a
Yeah,
new
so
thing?
it's interesting. So most of our services are free. Obviously, there's a registration fee associated with our national conference. We have some other events that we put on. There's a fee associated with it. We have some credentialing that we do for specific solutions that there's a fee. But most of the things that members can get, they access as a result of a free membership. So NetView Plus is something that we've just introduced in September. It's from a lot of what we've heard over and over. I need help with Excel. I need help with things that are outside of the Vertafore solution space. I need help trying to recruit new professionals. I need help with strategic planning, which are things that typically we have not done or provided education for. But in the last year or two, we have been, and there's a growing demand for personal and professional development resources. So since a lot of our members look to us first for those kinds of solutions, we're introducing NetView Plus as a fee-based education session. So right now, for example, I'm leading a 6-part series on strategic planning from when you first start to think about strategic planning to building vision, mission, values for your organization, and then building out the strategic plan. So helping our organizations understand what methodologies exist, what tools might work for their organizations, and then how to move through a strategic planning process. Those are the kinds of things that we're developing as a part of NetView Plus that would typically have been outside of our realm of responsibility of educating our members on Vertafore solutions. But Vertafore knows that Vertafore has told us that if we can continue to grow our agencies, help them become stronger and better, it becomes a better customer for them as well. So they're in full support of us providing, additional education for our members and their customers.
Education is huge, right? Like you said, you're a trusted source when it comes to Vertafore products, and then why not go a little bit beyond that? Makes a lot of
Right.
sense to me.
We have a series coming out on project management, how to be a better project manager, what kinds of tools and resources to do on project management. One of the big issues that we've heard just in the last year or so is change management inside agencies. So those are the kinds of things that we're looking at developing as part of NetView Plus. How to build a pivot table that helps you to analyze your accounting or your data and your systems. It surprises me how many people demand or request, I just need to know the basics in Excel. And then once I know the basics, what can I do to add on to be more efficient and effective in using Excel? There are a lot of tools and resources out there, but if they're asking us for it and we can provide it as part of NetView Plus, it's just an added benefit of their membership.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Um, what would you say are some of the biggest growth opportunities for NetView over the next few years?
The more individuals we can engage as part of the organization, we have a stronger pool of community, people that we can connect with one another. Growing our national conference this year in 2026. We're going to be in Las Vegas at the Fontainebleau Resort, Casino and Resort. So a lot of our members have probably never been there. It's a new facility, so we're looking forward to doing that. Growing our national conference is a big opportunity for us, not just from a revenue perspective, but just from an engagement perspective too. Adding value to Vertafore, allowing Vertafore to share its message of growth and change. Um, NetVU Plus is a huge opportunity for us as we grow as an organization. The only way we can grow is by introducing new revenue. NetVU Plus is a small stream of new revenue that can become a bigger stream long term, which would give us an opportunity to grow our staffing and provide more value and more services as a result. Um, Making sure, Vertafore has a customer list that's significantly larger than our organization list. So finding ways to connect with all of Vertafore's customers and making sure that they know the value of NetVU. So continuing to just drive people who are aware of what we do and what kind of value we provide, and then getting them into our member management system so we can connect and engage with them and more deeply engage with them over time. We have a pretty clear path as to what we've seen over time as to how somebody will engage with the organization and then grow their engagement. I mentioned we have an online discussion board. It's pretty easy to access. You can get in there based on your role in the organization. You can look at specific products. Vertafore has 3 primary management systems, well, 4 now. And so you can get into our online discussion group and participate in that. What we typically see is if somebody's new, we have the ability to kind of track who's participating and who's viewing things. So we see people and we call them lurkers, people who are just not engaging with the discussion board, but reading the posts and learning as a result of that. Once we see the individual kind of reply or ask a question, we know that they're ready to engage. And we find ways to further engage them as a result of being inquisitive on our discussion board, or what we call NCOM, which is the NetVU community. So there's kind of a clear path to get people more deeply engaged in the organization. We use technology to help us do that, but then we find ways to connect them with other people who are dealing with the same challenges they do.
So say, I'm
Sagitta,
a
AMS 360, QQ Catalyst, and Sagitta, the 3
okay.
management systems.
Hey, you know a lot of information. I don't hold it against you at all for just a moment. Um, so say I'm a QQ Catalyst user, or like an agency owner. Would I have already heard about NetView, like high probability, or is it easy to get? Can you get to it just straight from the from that platform, or how does it
So
kind
it
of?
no, so within the technology itself, there isn't an easy, seamless pathway to get from the technology that they're using on a day-to-day basis to NetView. There are some of the Vertafore solutions allow for internal messaging. So, for example, when we're promoting our national conference, we have ways to get that kind of messaging into the solutions
Okay,
themselves.
good.
But there's not a direct pathway typically from the solutions. Vertafore does a pretty good job when they're onboarding new customers of introducing them to NetView
Okay,
as a
good.
part of that process. And we continue to grow our relationship with Vertafore and make it deeper into the product management teams, the integration teams, product development teams, as well as the marketing teams. So, just getting more and more people to understand, we have a process by which we're involved in some of Vertafore's events for its employees. We continue to look at ways to get more and more involved in, Vertafore's own onboarding for its employees so we can introduce NetView to them and they have a clear understanding of what we can do for their customers. But yeah, we look at every opportunity that we can to educate about what NetView does, to whether it be a Vertafore employee, a new independent agency owner, new people who have been brought into the agency space. Lots of tools to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just thinking from the agency perspective. Once someone starts, the actual process of learning QQ Catalyst or
Hmm.
what have you, right? Then I see the value like really rise pretty fast. And then yeah, being able to be like, hey, we're here to help.
Yeah,
I'd
and
be clicking
typically,
there immediately.
like I said, typically what we see is if somebody's new to a Vertafore solution and they're looking for answers, they'll find our online discussion board, and start to look at the conversations that are taking place with that specific solution because we have some channels for all the individual solutions that Vertafore offers. And typically that's the way somebody will get engaged if they're new to the NetView community or they're new to Vertafore.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add?
There are lots of trade associations out there, whether it be in the independent insurance agency space or professional development space. One of the things that NetView does really well is, build like I've mentioned a couple times, build a community, help build connections to knowledge, connections to individuals. I mean, the personal relationships that we build with individuals becomes probably stronger than most trade associations I've been a part of, with the exception of a university alumni association. I mean, I've seen people who have attended national conference and met at national conference, and then they continue to attend every year and join up with their buddies. You know, you hear stories about people getting matching tattoos because of friends they've met at national conference or through NetVU. You know, people who have grown in their relationship with NetVU end up leading our executive board of directors, becoming leaders in the organization, and they don't have to be owners. I mean, we have people who are owners as part of our leadership team, but it can be somebody who's a technology development person. It can be a project manager. It can be a customer service. So we see all levels of people who get engaged with NetVU end up becoming leaders in the NetVU space. It's not just about finding out how to do X, Y, and Z in the solution. It's about how do I become better for my organization that I'm representing and that pays me and wants me to become better. But how do I become better both professionally and personally? And the personal development is a result of relationships. It's a result of connecting them to things like, AI solutions and how do you prompt correctly. It's, helping them to find out what their specific strengths are and what kind of path they can create within their own agency to growing professionally. So it can be somebody who has no college education, who's been a CSR and has somehow found out, a way to grow in the organization to become, the chief operations officer. We've seen that happen a lot of times. So we have a real strength in helping people grow professionally in their organizations, just as a result of the community that we build and make available to them. So that would probably be my parting shot.
I think it sounds great. I think it's absolutely needed. I, I see the value. I hope other uh, brokers and agency owners out there listening do too. There's always something that it's so much easier just being a part of a group of
Hmm.
like-minded people that know. I mean, you're using the same platform, you're having the same problems in the business every day. If you can get connected with those people, so much value there. Like honestly,
What's really unique about NetVU is that we are, entry into NetVU is free. As long as you're a Vertafore customer, you have access to NetVU immediately as a result of signing that contract with Vertafore and becoming a Vertafore customer, which is totally unique. All the trade associations I've worked for, this is the first organization I've been at that we don't have to do a membership drive every year to collect dues from our members and retain them as part of our organization. Which is different. It's challenging, but totally unique in the association space. And while we're considered a user group, it's very similar to most trade associations in that respect.
should be an easy, hey, let's check it out. I would be there. What's the best way for people to come learn about it? There are people that are listening now. I can put something in the show notes, of course.
Yep. Go to www.netview, N-E-T-V as in Victor, U as in under.org. Create a login. Go check out our NetView community, which is called INCOM. So when you're at our website, look at ways to connect. You'll find INCOM or our online community. Best way to do is just go lurk, listen to the conversation, see what's taking place. We'll deliver an email to you, an email digest of the conversations that are important to you. You can personalize those, whether you get those daily or weekly or other means. But that's really the best way. Visit our website, create a credential to log in, go to our online community, and start listening.
Perfect. I hope everybody goes and checks it out.
Yeah, me
I'll be
too.
I'll be on my friends, my other broker friends, and be like, hey, are you in that group or not? Because
Yeah.
well, thank you, John. I appreciate you being on. Anything else you'd like to add at all that you don't think we
No,
covered
I don't
today?
think so. Not off the top of my head, just that NetView continues to find new ways to create engaging opportunities for our membership. It's not just about Vertafore Solutions, about how we can grow you individually. It's about how we can help to grow your organizations as well.
Perfect. Thank you, John.
You
Appreciate you.
bet. My pleasure. Thank you very much.